Last note for why did I get married? So, what I wanted to say was at the end of the film, the second film, you see Patricia's character in the hospital after or while they're waiting to get news about what happened with Gavin. And she tells everybody in a very quick, weirdly orchestrated scene where she tells everybody that it's not worth all of the arguments, it's not worth all of the fighting, it's not worth all of the confusion. Forgive each other. And you see this montage of hugs between everybody. No matter what your relationship goes through, no matter what your marriage goes through, no matter what it is, at the end of the day, from the reverse perspective, hindsight is 2020. It's not worth all of that. It should never come to a point where you're sitting there looking at your spouse on their deathbed and you're sitting there saying to yourself, all of that wasn't even worth it. Meaning everything that you were fighting about, everything that you were arguing about, everything that, with all the drama, confusion, all of that stuff, it's not worth it. It's not worth any of it. All the confusion, none of that is worth it. And I wanted to make this last point in relation to Sheila. Sheila had been with Mike for as long as she had been with Mike and had learned all of the stuff that she learned from that relationship. When she married Troy, she didn't understand that what she was doing wasn't right. The order of her actions were not right. She didn't see it as wrong. But at the same time, sometimes, I said this before, God will make your enemies your footstools. So it can be looked at in two different formats. Stockholm Syndrome, that had not been dealt with, that you go back to the person that abused you and you make everything go back to that person that abused you. But it can also be looked at as God's way of causing that person to have to bow their knee, because Mike ended up eventually having to bow his knee because he got cancer. So Sheila didn't know, and I believe I stated that Sheila didn't understand that what she was doing wasn't a good idea for her marriage. At the end of the day, when looking at all of these couples, communication is the key to all of the problems, all of the traumas. I don't know. Maybe you can identify yourself in some of these relationships, but I definitely want to say to you, if you can ever identify yourself in any of these relationships, I believe it would behoove you to take the time to sit down and question, why do I identify myself in each of these people's characteristics or whatever person's characteristics? Why? And do you need to deal with that? Because if you're looking for kingdom marriage, you got to also look at yourself. And God's not going to allow his son to be mistreated or misdirected like Eve did by a woman that's operating in a position that she should not be operating in. Each of these women were acting in a wrong position, and it costs them something to a degree at different points in time. So Patricia was right at the end. It's not worth it. And it isn't. So that's my final thoughts on that. Until next time, much love, faith, peace, and blessings.